for taking this time out. And I know Milind has been in touch with you for a fairly long time.
Yeah,
And what we're trying and doing, because we're not able to meet people physically, try and do these one-on-one sessions virtually with industry leaders, especially in the L&D space, to understand how things are changing. Right? I mean,
right.
pre-COVID, the story was completely different now. And every time I speak to an L&D person, they say we've never been this busy ever in our lives. So,
Right.
I mean, so how are things shifting? How has this impacted not only your organization and your industry, but your function, L&D as a whole? How are you looking at it differently? So just like a discussion, just wanted to pick your brains on what's happening. And I think from the pharma industry, you're probably the first person I'm speaking to, so it'll be a very fresh and a new view that I will hear today. So yeah, so just that, right? So have things changed in terms of L&D for you? I mean, in the last 7-8 months now.
Yeah. In fact, Niti, the way you have started, so let me have some background for this. You see that being in the L&D space, correct, one of the prime responsibility and one of the key competency of every L&D leader is that always looking way forward. Right. So if you just go a little bit back, correct, in the year 2000, that is the time when people were talking about that this year e-learning is going to be the game changer, right? But you see that it came, correct, it stayed for some time, but could not create much impact on the way the L&D entire piece is being conducted. Then you see that from 2010 onwards, people started talking about digital learning, right? But it was also a buzzword before the COVID times. But this crisis automatically has pushed people, correct, to adapt towards the digital. So the piece which I wanted to share over here is that we always have been, correct, forward looking people, but we realized that there were some key components were there, correct, which were actually inhibiting us to implement the various new form of technologies in L&D space. And this COVID has actually accelerated that particular need, and it has brought a very fundamental thing that people learn because of two reasons. Either they learn because their growth is involved into it, or they learn because of fear. So this COVID has brought both the components together, and that is how you see that the pre-COVID LND and during the COVID LND, because post-COVID we have not seen yet, because it is about to come, right? So the pre-COVID and during COVID, correct, I could see in my department, in my organization, a sea change towards identifying and adopting the new channels of learning. Like we were the first in the pharma industry, correct, to launch learning app some 3 years back. Right. So we have our own struggles for the adoption of learning app. You know that the e-learning, when it was there, digital learning, correct? You have to follow a lot with the people, that course completion and this thing, right? So we made it very interesting. And around pre-COVID, our this adoption rates were around 60-65%, correct? And that was considered to be good, because looking into our large field force size, which is around of 10,000 people on field across country. And during the COVID times, we have seen it has gone up to around 96 to 97%. Correct. And this adoption has started actually creating a reverse pressure on the LND. Right. And what is that reverse pressure? You know, that how to source new content, how fast you can bring the content, and how interesting content you can design. So I tell you that that designing itself is its own cycle. It takes its own time. But now this designing, implementation, execution, adoption, all things put together have become, people want it right now. Means yesterday the demand is coming and they say, "Okay, that by evening can you launch this?" Right. So that kind of reverse pressure has started coming in. And I tell you, for LND people, this is the most exciting and the most important time to be
True, true. Very, very true, and like you said, I think the reverse pressure, because I think businesses are now demanding upskilling
in.
or
Right.
engagement with their learners.
Right.
Have you seen? I mean, what I hear from many L&D leaders is that initially the requirement was for something else, and now gradually it's becoming more business driven and oriented. Have you seen that in the last 7 months? I mean, some earlier it was just go speak to my people, but now it is about productivity and something else. Has that been in your case as well?
Yeah, as rightly pointed by you, Niti, but I would like to just reframe the point which you have brought in. In fact, if you look upon that, the need for L&D has increased a lot in the last 6 to 7 month period of time, right? And see, in pharma, the training was always business driven, right? The productivity driven, and our leaders are very frank and open in demanding that any training which is not leading to increasing the engagement and the productivity, we will scrap that training. Right. So that kind of understanding has been throughout in my career of around 20 years in pharma. And that is why our design and our programs are actually more practical. And in last 6 to 7 months, what has started happening, that leaders have started asking for whether your training program is long, short, or mid duration, correct? Please ensure that the retention level has to be higher. So that is the thing, because our leaders have used L&D, correct, in last 6 7 months, not only for the engagement, productivity, and another thing, correct, which has came is to provide the psychological safety to people as well.
Yeah, I mean, very true, because this whole distributed working from home, working from wherever, I think
Yeah,
has taken a mental toll on everyone.
right.
So this is just another way of keeping them motivated,
Yeah,
right, and engaged with the employer. I think it's very, very critical, and
yeah,
I'm sure that even the managers or leaders are realizing that this is a good way to
yeah.
ensure that they continue working and they're happy and they're mentally stable, right? So
Very right, Niti. Yeah.
yeah.
I-
So
I- yeah.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, in fact, you have brought in very valid point that managers have started realizing, though
Mm,
that realization was there before as well, but during this lockdown period, that initial 45 to 50 days when the field force was at home, managers have started seeing the benefit of this, right? And that is why you see that now they are also demanding on that, sir, we are ready to provide you the time, but you please organize the program for us.
yes. Yeah. So what kind of trainings have you organized, which probably you were not doing pre-COVID?
Niti, see, we have got a very well balanced charter for our training programs, correct? Because me and my team take care of not only the sales training but the behavioral training as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those were things, the elements were present there, but the new 2 or 3 skill competence and the competencies which we have brought in the last 6 months is, number one, we have started training our people on the resilience skills, correct?
Okay.
Because being resilient is one of the very important thing, correct? And
Mhm.
second things, we started, correct, focusing more upon the conversational intelligence. The
Mhm.
reason for this conversational intelligence is that now the number of footfall of patients in the doctor clinic is lesser. At the same time, lesser number of doctors are also opening their clinic face to face. Right.
Mhm.
So when this number of calls have been reduced, so whatever the engagement time our people are going to get inside, what kind of the conversation they do, correct, to ensure the products to be sold over there, not only the products to be sold over there, but understanding the real need of the customer, and then accordingly, correct, doing the cross selling as well over there. So
Yeah.
these are the two things, correct, which we have brought in. And in terms of the tools, right, we have brought in this simulation tools as well, where
Mhm.
the self-paced simulations are giving us very good result, correct, which we have launched around 6 months back, as soon as this COVID has taken place, right? So this self-paced simulation gamification have started taking a lot of traction for us.
Yeah.
That around 1 year back when we launched gamification, initial traction was there, correct, but now the repeat demand for this gamification model is very high.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And from a learner perspective, has there been a specific ask, or only what the company decides, and you've conducted the learning?
See, company decided syllabus is curriculum is there, but from the learner side, now we have started getting a lot of, you can say, that tacit demand of upskilling themselves. They are saying,
Mm-hmm.
ki, sir, this is fine that what you are teaching us, that is related with our current needs, correct? But if I have to prepare myself for future, then what is there for me?
Yeah.
So those kind of the demand has started coming in, and that is why I'm saying that it is a very exciting time for an L&D leaders, that when the demand starts coming in from the users, correct? So there is nothing like that.
Correct, correct. You also brought in this point that with lesser number of clinics being opened and lesser number of doctors being physically available, right? Has your sales strategy and your sales learning changed?
Yeah, little bit change is there because we as an organization have started involving our customers digitally.
Okay.
Now, if you look into the pharma sales, correct, we are having a very traditional kind of model, correct, which has not been changed for the last 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike other industries, correct, where a single technology changes and the entire business model changes.
Yeah.
Still in pharma, that the business model is that a product is being selected, communication is created, and a medical representative physically meets the doctor to promote his brands.
Right.
And the prescription is generated over there. Correct. But because of this lesser number of physicians doing practice and lesser number of patients going to the doctor, correct, there was a big vacuum over there. And during this time, we as an organization have decided to launch our own digital platform, correct, which provides an opportunity to doctor to see their patients through teleconsultation. And then we decided, why should we keep it only for the teleconsultation purpose? Why cannot we make it a Netflix for the doctor,
Okay.
where doctors are going to get all the practice related updated material on that particular app. Not
Mm-hmm.
only that, patient also gets the patient education material and other thing. Now, when this product was created, isn't it? It started demanding another skill to be built in our salespeople, that how to sell the digital product to a customer,
Mm-hmm.
how to make a doctor on board on the app. And happy to share with you, Niti, that in 3 months' time, correct, we have created the program and we have launched that program to all 10,000 people across the organization. And the outcome is that within 3 months period of time, some 15,000 doctors are onboarded on that app.
Wow.
Our target is around onboarding around 1 lakh doctor by this March end.
Wow. That's a huge task actually.
Yeah, yeah.
So all your salespeople had to be skilled on digitization and digitalization and all those tools, right?
Yes,
Along with
yes,
the app and everything else that you've created.
yes.
Wow. That's amazing actually and commendable that doctors, because especially in your field, right, technology probably has played a huge role in manufacturing and research,
Yeah.
but not as much as in the patient care or so I think in your field technology is now going to play a huge role.
Absolutely right, Niti.
Right? Yeah. And apart from the sales teams, were any other teams also enabled digitally? I mean, were you training them also on the digital tools?
See, here we are talking about the sales team. So my focus of discussion is on the sales team. Apart from that, you see that at the back end, our IT team is there, correct? So they are into with the development team and other things are there. And I tell you that entire organization, right? Have moved to many digital things because when we are going to the office, hardly around 15% of the people are going to office now. 85% people are doing work from home. So our
Right.
IT has done a commendable job of providing them all the infrastructure of doing the work from home.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. And all your trainings are internal, is it? You have a large L&D team that does content development and training?
Yeah, yeah. See, I lead a team of around 18 trainers with me, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And among these 18 trainers, correct, there are digital content developers, there are module developers, the content part aspect, isn't it? Then there is a complete, you can say that the design team also working around it. And then we are having a team of, among them, the team of, you can say the delivery experts, right?
Okay.
So around 90-95% trainings we do internally.
Wow. That's really nice. And if you're saying 10,000 field force, I
Yeah,
think that itself is a huge task.
correct, correct.
What was the upskilling you did for your team?
Very valid question. Correct. See, I have joined this organization 9 years back. Right when I joined in, there was hardly one trainer in the organization. And then I convinced the management that how important this L&D space is going to be for the current needs and the future also, and how we can add to the productivity of the organization. So they started approving one or two candidates every year, and over a period of time, correct, they gave me a team of around 18 people. Now, the upskilling part of this people, correct, every year I make them undergo one international program and one domestic program on L&D space. Like my team is trained on coaching skills, they all are certified. Number two, that uh, this digital facilitation, correct, last year before COVID, I have made them to undergo the certification, and during this COVID times, it this that certification has helped those people quite a lot, because within 7 days of the lockdown announcement, our entire programs we have converted into the digital format. Right. Apart from this, correct, they all are trained on this your accelerated learning and the digital learning skills. So every year, two programs, correct, they undergo for their upskilling,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the reason that for the last 8 years, I would say that none of my person has left me.
Wow. That's really nice. But tell me now, with with travel and your physical infrastructure cost coming down for training,
Yeah,
right? I mean, what percentage would you as an organization would have saved? About 25-30% of your L&D budgets
more
per
than
on
that.
more than that?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So now next year when you're planning, I'm assuming you are following the April to March cycle financial
yeah.
year. When you plan for next year budgets, where will you use this 30-40%, but just the spend that you have saved right now? And I think even next year it's going to be the same. I don't think we're getting back to 100% classrooms anytime soon. So
Correct.
where do you envisage this money being utilized actually?
See that three areas, correct, which we have started thinking about that where we would like to spend next year, right? One is that bringing more technological tools like AR and VR is something, correct, which needs to be still means those two technology has to show their ROI. But I see a lot of potential into these two areas. Like for example, for manufacturing, at the same time, the same technology can be used in the Salesforce training also, because when the role play creation kind of a thing is one area where AR and VR can be used very effectively. Correct. So one is the technology aspect. Second thing, I would like to make some more spend in terms of upgraded learning experience platform, because when the classroom is not going to happen and bringing people on the digital platform, right, so we need to give them some kind of experience over there.
Right.
Correct. And third aspect is that the content aspect and more of a micro learning content. And nowadays, now people are talking about nano learning content. So we would like to experiment with nano learning content as well.
Wow. Yeah, I think very relevant because investments in technology are really going to be long term,
Yeah,
and they're required. And like you said, I think AR and VR, and of course, I think the VR tools are a lot more expensive than AR tools. I
right.
mean, we ourselves actually experimented with R-Code,
Yeah,
right? It's a free platform, so and especially for the manufacturing sector,
right,
right? While virtually we are training them, but for them to visualize how the whole machinery works,
right,
right, and see it in a 3D form, I think AR works beautifully,
right.
right? And I think very soon, if you can start integrating, tools like Google Glass, Lens,
Yeah,
right, all those things, and I think that's really the future of virtual learning. It
correct.
can't be just self-paced learning or online learning or e-learning anymore.
Correct.
It
And,
has
and I, yeah, and I tell you, Niti, that this technology is bringing so much possibilities now that in the learning design itself, it is giving you so much option in terms of tools there.
yeah,
Right. So it is creating a lot of opportunity area. At the same time, it is putting a lot of pressure also that what happens if I am visualizing that this is how it will go, but the learner is not able to comprehend and understand at the same level. And if some glitches happens, then how to manage that?
absolutely,
Correct.
absolutely.
Because in the last 7 months, when we are conducting this virtual instructor led programs, correct, we realized one or two things, correct. That the basic limitation is number one, that the kind of infrastructure which is there in our country for the digital things, correct, this needs to improve drastically. Because see, what happens that if I am sitting at Mumbai and conducting a virtual program, isn't it? Maybe that somebody in Jhumri Tale is sitting there and is unable to connect,
Mm. Very true.
yeah,
Yeah.
because of that bandwidth issue and other
Yeah.
things. So
Very
that
true.
is one area, correct, where the things needs to change. And number two, that the organization needs to think about that how to compensate for the data usage for the employees,
Yeah. Yeah. So,
because we all want
I
them to
was just
learn.
talking to, yeah, exactly. Learn or work from home, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so all the expenses that we have borne in offices,
Mhm.
instead of that, I think if we just shift those as allowances of working from home,
Yeah,
right, or even additional healthcare allowances given the pandemic, I think that the employees will be a lot happier,
right.
right? But did you face this infrastructure problem when you were skilling your 10,000 on distributed workforce? That was a
Yeah,
huge challenge.
yes, yeah. Some of the experiences, correct, which we had, which I have just shared with you, is that I am conducting a program, but a person in an interior. Because you see, in pharma, correct, field force is highly distributed, isn't it? So when it is coming to your tier three, tier four town, and if the connectivity is not there, then it poses a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, and absolutely. But all of them would be using smartphones as against laptops or tablets or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We have provided them with the tablets, right? So
Mhm.
they are using the tablet, but ultimately it is not a matter of the hardware, correct? It is a matter of the connectivity.
Connectivity, yeah. And unfortunately, as organizations, we can't do much to rectify that.
Right.
We have dependency on the telecom service providers
Yeah.
and, and the government, of course. So it's between the two of them that they have to actually look at. Tell me, have you changed the pedagogy of learning, I mean, for your distributed workforce in the last few months?
Yes, pedagogy in terms, see, initially the traditionally people used to have this presentation, case studies, right? And your lecture mode, isn't it? But in this particular kind of scenario, the case studies have been converted into caselets, because
Okay.
you cannot give them now 3 or 4 pages of case studies, isn't it? You have to create a smaller cases, correct. Number two, that scenario building has played a very important role in the change in the pedagogy for people. And this
Hmm.
scenario building, correct, we are taking help of our Salesforce leaders only, correct, because in the current situation, in the COVID kind of a situation, what kind of scenario they are observing and what kind of a skill they want to build in the person. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So this scenario based, second one is the caselet, isn't it? And third one, which we are identifying, that this gamification is one of the most important pedagogy which is going to come for the future. But for that, you need to have a very good team, correct, who can churn out the game faster for you.
True, true. Very true. Yeah. But also tell me, I mean, with your, with technology, with the shift in the way sales is happening, right? I mean, there are so many changes happening right now,
Mhm.
correct? What is it that you would want to do? Or I don't know if you're doing this for your, lateral entries. Are you doing this for your middle management and leadership also? Are you doing similar learning strategies for people across board?
Yeah, you see, Niti, that in Alchem we follow Ramcharan's model of the entire thing, correct? So for each layer in sales, correct, we are having set of programs, right? Like for example, a person who is joining as a sales medical representative, isn't it? First, he as soon as he joins, 4 days of that his capsule induction program takes place, right? And then after 45 days, correct, he comes for the basic training program, and that is a virtual mode now. And now what we have done, that we have started creating learning journeys for these people, that in a 1 year period of time, correct, these are the things which you need to complete, correct. And we have bucketed our sales people, like you're talking about the lateral people who are coming into, then what kind of things we do for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what we have done, that we have created like from 1 to 2 years people, experienced people, isn't it? Then 2 to 5 year experienced people, 5 to 10 years experienced people, then 10 to 15 years, and then 15 years and above.
Mhm.
Correct. And here you see that the common thread is what, that the product is going to remain common for them, for a particular division, isn't it? But as per their need of life also changes, right? So we are building in some life skills and the soft skills area there, and then the selling skills modules are there.
Mhm.
Correct. And all are now in a virtual mode, isn't it? So it is going well. Likewise, for your the people, correct, who are being promoted, isn't it? The first time manager is well placed for them. But among the managers also, correct, that we have created a 5 year cycle for them, because after 5 years, either he is promoted or he is out.
Right.
Right. So
Mhm.
for them, for the 4 year kind of 5 year kind of a thing, that managers having less than 1 year of experience, manager having 2 to 3 years of experience, and manager having more than 3 years but less than 5 years of experience as in first line managers. The
Mhm.
same model has been followed for the second line manager and the third line manager. For the third line managers, correct, apart from our internal programs, correct, we are now tied up with the SPGen Institute, right? And we have created an advanced sales management course for them, right?
Mhm.
Which is also taking care of that the sales model which has changed, or the the managing skill, sales manager skills which are required, like how to handle the remote teams, how
Yeah.
to conduct the remote reviews, isn't it? How to do the remote coaching. We have included all these things in their course, isn't it? And from December onwards, we are going to launch it for our star third line salespeople.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Okay. I think that's a very detailed and an exhaustive plan, Sushil, and I'm sure it works. It works for all your team members. Now, is this continuous learning journey that you said? I mean, I have two questions on that.
Yeah.
One is, do you give any kind of credits as people learn through the years? And then second is it part of your performance appraisal cycle?
Uh, Very difficult question you have asked, Niti. Right. I tell you that we give the credit to them
Mm-hmm.
in terms of certification, in terms of the credit points in our learning app, right?
Right.
That we give. But in my experience of last 20 years and especially 14 years in L&D, correct? If you start forcing this L&D to become a part of PMS, like 5% or 10% kind of a thing, it should not be the L&D agenda. It has to come from the business, right? And every organization is having its own maturity journey towards it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now I could tell you that proudly, that what I am anticipating in the next 1 or 2 year in Alchem, I am seeing that it is going to come from the business, that making minimum 5% mark to the L&D in their performance management system,
Okay.
right? Though it is not for the individual learner, but we have made this 5% of people development part in the manager's KRA.
Mm. That makes sense. Absolutely. And you see now with businesses and managers asking for more and more learning, this will become a lot easier to implement.
Yes, easier to implement. At the same time, it is going to increase our accountability and responsibility both.
Yes.
Because when somebody is asking and if he is not getting that, isn't it, then he
Yeah.
will not come back again to you.
Very true. Yeah, yeah, of course. So I think the performance of the L&D teams will get questioned time and again now.
Yeah,
But if now that you've seen that how productive people are after the upskilling and reskilling, I'm sure businesses will keep coming back to you.
yeah. And Niti, I have observed one very important transition during this COVID times.
Uh-huh.
Like the point which you have raised now, that the accountability of this means the L&D team will be questioned. Now I tell you that that issue will not come, because in this last 7 months, what I have observed, that now the accountability of learning has shifted from the trainer to the learner now.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing virtual sessions, right, I am giving my best to you, which your bosses are also observing, isn't it? Now it is up to the other person that how he implements. And this change I have seen in the last 7 months.
I think it's also the fear of losing jobs and all that right now, no, or staying relevant.
Yeah.
Isn't that the case even now, right? People want to be told that yes, you are needed. and you're relevant, and whatever you do is in the right direction. I mean, I'm sure it's not the case as much in your industry, but many other industries where people were being asked to go, or changes happening. I
Mhm.
think it just became the way that I have to be productive and relevant, and you use the right term, resilient,
Yeah,
right at the beginning. That you actually used a lot of resilience training to across the board. I think it's very important, and even more now because what we are seeing across industries, and I would like to hear your views for the pharma sector, is that a lot of companies are now opening doors for the gig workers. Earlier gig workers were purely the Uber drivers or the delivery boys.
right.
Now I could take somebody on an assignment for like 3 months, 6 months, and then just complete the task and finish off.
Correct. Correct.
So I'm variabilizing my costs, right?
Correct.
I don't have so much fixed costs. Do you think that's going to happen in your sector eventually?
Uh, in fact, not in all departments, but yes, in support function, there is a possibility for it.
Mhm.
Because in pharmaceutical sales, please understand, Niti, that it is the face of the person that is very important to build the trust with the customer.
The customer.
So there you cannot have the gig worker kind of a thing. But
Uh-huh.
yes, in the support services, correct, like in finances, in HR, in other areas, there is a possibility of this phenomena to come.
Happen, no? Yeah. And do you see your organization or any company spending or investing in upskilling the gig workers ever?
Going forward, if they are going to be the part of organization for even for 2 months or 3 months period of time, correct, upskilling becomes the responsibility of the organization if they want to get the best out of it.
Correct, correct. Because so far people have shied away from making these investments because gig workers are temporary workforce. They'll come, they'll go, and that's it. So yeah.
Yeah, in fact, Niti, you see that I come from a pharmaceutical background, and in our manufacturing unit, we have got people who are on roll and people who comes on contract.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? We equally give weightage to their training as well.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. That's really good to hear actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
See, because see, anybody in pharma industry, if he is touching a product, a
right.
manufacturing aspect of it, correct? He is a part of quality,
True.
isn't it? And our medicines are sold basically on trust that the people are getting the quality medicine. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot afford whether a person is in a contract or a gig worker or a permanent worker, correct, that he should not be imparted the proper knowledge about the things.
True. Okay. Do you envisage sales, the way sales happens in your sector in the pharma industry change? I mean, now that you're using virtual modes to connect with doctors,
Yeah.
right? Do you think it'll ever go back to only going and meeting the doctors on a day-to-day basis, or do you think the virtual stuff will continue for much longer? Because that is how your sales strategies will also get defined, right?
Yeah. In fact, Niti, the change in the sales and market, not in the sales per se, correct, but in the marketing strategy, I could see a lot of changes will happen
Mm-hmm.
because this face-to-face selling is not going to go away,
Right.
right? It is going to be there. But the onus is on the marketeer that how he engages the doctor on the digital space.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Because it will not be like you're creating an e-detailing or creating an e-brochure, isn't it? It will be more about that how well a brand manager associates his brand with the social cause and connect the doctor to become a part of that social campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Here, my salesperson may not be able to play a role, isn't it? Apart from just telling him that this is a thing, correct, which my organization is doing.
Right.
But here, the job of a marketeer will become more relevant, more important.
Yeah, I think sending the communication out
Yes,
consistently to the doctors, right?
correct.
But are doctors open to using technology a lot more now?
In fact, Niti, initially people have certain inhibitions, right? But in last 7 months, if you look upon various surveys which are being published, isn't it? They are showing a good shift among doctors as well that
Mhm.
they are adapting to the digital technology. In fact, telemedicine is one of the very burning example that
Right.
before your pandemic time, isn't it? Hardly there were few teleconsultation used to take place, and especially the big hospitals like Apollo and other places. But as per
Hmm.
the government data as well, correct, there is some 550% increase in the teleconsultation in India.
Wow.
So
I
means
think for individual practitioners, it's also about survival, right?
it's not about survival, correct. It brings a lot of, you can say, sense of uh, being a contributor to the society, because think about a doctor. He has been raised that he is there to serve society and he is there to treat patient.
True.
Now patient is unable to come to him, so please try to understand the kind of the turbulence this doctor must be having inside, that the people need me and I'm unable to reach there.
Reach out. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So he must be, he was looking for something, correct, which can help him, any digital or any technology tool to reach to his patient. And as soon as this digital platform has started coming in, isn't it, the things have started happening.
Yeah. True, true.
In fact, to the contrary, to means another aspect, even if the platform was not there till you see that mid of the April, right? Doctors were using WhatsApp video calls.
Yeah. True, very true. Absolutely, yes.
It is said na, that necessity is the mother of all inventions.
Yeah, and I think specifically in India, right? I mean, considering that we are not too much of a research and an innovation backed society, you know, जब तक चल रहा है तब तक चलने दो types. You know, I mean, I will only invent something new when I've reached that corner and there's no other way out. And I think
Correct.
that's exactly what happened to us. I mean, if last year somebody would have told us that 80% of the population can work from home, we would laugh it out and say, you know what, rubbish. I mean, it's never going to happen. But this pushed us, and we all see. I think people are working more hours. They're being more productive. I mean, you've actually reduced your travel stress. Forget the travel time. You
Yeah,
know, larger cities like Mumbai, you can cover 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers in 1 hour. In Bangalore, you can cover 20 kilometers in 2 hours.
yeah,
So the stress of travel is so high, right? I think that itself, if you bring back happiness into the work, I think a lot more can be achieved.
yeah. In fact, Nidhi, we have done one work from home survey in the month of May, right, to identify that how much time in our Bombay corporate office, correct, people are devoting to their travel.
Mhm.
Right. Astonishingly, around 70-75% people were spending more than 3 hours of traveling time in a day.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, but knowing Bombay is possible, I think all of us have done that for a very long time. So yeah, completely acceptable, and people come like from wherever. I mean, if you tell people in Bangalore to travel like 20 kilometers, it's very far.
Yeah,
But in Bombay, nobody questions where your workplace because everybody has to travel any which ways.
yeah,
And anything around 5 kilometers radius is a luxury.
correct.
So yeah, so I mean, of course, that's the DNA of the city, you know, and everyone agrees to travel that much and much more. But 3 hours, imagine if those 3 hours become productive at workplace.
Correct.
No, and it's not just 3 hours. No, you come in, you rest for half an hour, you can't start work immediately. It's all of those other things as well around it. It easily could be 4 hours of unproductive time.
Correct.
With even if 50% of that is deployed at your workplace, productivity by default will improve.
But productivity for human being, correct, that physical presence of your colleague works as a catalyst. That we need to also remember.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. So, I mean, I keep hearing reports that TCS is saying 80% of workforce will continue working from home. I mean, I think in the long term, it may not be completely practical,
Yeah,
right? I mean, what I hear the leaders talk about is the need for an office will be for collaborative work, and you could work individually wherever you are,
correct.
right? And so I mean, I go to office at least twice a week, if not more these days, and it's a welcome break right now.
Yes.
I'm very happy to go and sit in office and do what I
Right.
and see also the fact that a lot of people who are staying alone in PGs, for them to get a separate room to do their work throughout the day, do these calls is not practical.
not practical. I 100% agree with you, Niti. And that is the reason you see that as a human being, we are very adaptable to all the changes, correct? Historically, you see that the evolution process, isn't it? Number two is what you know, is that we do not value what we have. So when we were going to office, correct, we actually vie for that work from home hona chahiye, isn't it? Now we are having the work from home. We say ki that office was better, right? So
Very, very true. I don't know how. Maybe collaborative workspaces in and around where people are living, connected to their offices. I don't know what's the future going to be, but I think this travel time and I think all of that has to cut short, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's like if
100%
you're
agree with
working in Godrej and living in the Godrej property, it's a very good thing. Right, it's
great.
next door. So I probably walk in green space and clean air, I walk to office.
Correct,
Or I drive to office or I cycle to office, right?
correct.
Because I think as a country we are far away from getting to that dream. But I think if people are thinking that way,
In fact, see, I could envisage that maybe that in coming times, in place of a single corporate office, there must be some satellite offices kind of a thing people may create.
correct, correct, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's only going to help
Yeah,
because you're looking at people seeing each other physically, but you're still remote, right? And because of adoption of technology, I think all our infrastructure has improved. At least the corporate infrastructure has improved dramatically.
correct. And socialization is a part of the collaborative process. It has to be there.
Correct. It is important. I think we learn a lot from each other, so
Correct.
which is why meeting and being in the same room is very important.
Right.
But I think COVID has really pushed a lot of these thought processes in a different direction.
Correct.
I mean, so much so that when we're doing training, I'm taking trainers from Australia, New Zealand, Bangladesh, Malaysia, with something which I never thought about earlier.
Right.
And then we were thinking of cost of training, saying उसको flight में लेकर आना पड़ेगा, hotel में ठहराना पड़ेगा. All of that is gone, right? So I think that way it has helped.
Yeah.
But at some point, and I think learning also, do you see learning being completely digital and virtual, or do you think that will become a mix of some classroom and some virtual? What's your sense?
For the next 5 6 months, Nidhi, it will be more of virtual. But going forward, that blended learning is going to stay.
Yeah. So some
Yeah.
classroom has to have
It
has to
has
have.
to happen. Otherwise, correct, you cannot ensure that the learning is bringing the behavioral changes.
True. Very, very true. Because it's not just learning a skill.
Yeah,
The behavior is actually a matter of habit, no?
yes, sure.
And it
And in fact,
happens over a period of time.
and that is why you see that how the design will change. That all the information related thing can be done virtually or digitally or by self-reading kind of a thing.
Yeah,
But whenever this is coming as a behavioral anchor to be developed, isn't it? That is the time, correct, where face-to-face training has to happen.
is important. Yes, yes. I mean, you did mention about the various pedagogies that you're using for training.
Yeah.
Do you use alternate models of learning, like let's say using theoretical model of learning or something like that currently?
See, we generally follow here, correct, that if you look into that, how a person learns, correct. So we start with basically what that giving him a broad concept, then the broad knowledge, then the application part, and then that using that particular thing, correct, in the moment of the second, which generates the business, isn't it?
Mhm.
Now, this particular thing has actually flipped this entire model now.
Yeah.
Correct. Here, people first want to learn. Tell me, correct, what will help me to generate prescription, and if I am interested, then I will go deeper into that.
True.
Right.
Correct.
So that is the thing. That is what you wanted to know, Niti, or anything
Yeah, yeah.
specific?
I think that is one. And what I was also asking is a lot of new models of learning are coming in.
Okay.
Right? Like I said, theater based.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Theater.
did
Yeah.
mention caselets and all. I think those are very interesting,
Right.
right? But theater based model or using other techniques of learning like NLP.
Yeah.
NLP is also a technique of learning.
Right.
An assimilation of whatever you're being taught. So do you use these techniques and models?
See, we have not tried the theater based till now, but this year NLP neuro linguistic programming is a part of our all the courses, isn't it?
Mhm.
Because as a trainer, you also know that your words creates a lot of influence on people, isn't
Mhm.
it? So when you're describing something to somebody, correct, he should be able to visualize, and his all five senses has to able to understand and feel that particular thing. So NLP is a part of our training. We use a lot of mind mapping for the retention of the things, isn't it?
Okay.
Right. So we are using different kind of techniques now. And nowadays this OAKR model has come, correct. So all these things, correct, we keep on experimenting. And Niti, in my experience of this 12 years purely into the L&D space, isn't it, has taught me one thing, that
Mhm.
you learn about the certification model and everything,
Right.
correct. That has to be with you, right? But there is no, you can say, compartment among these things.
Mhm.
Use the mix of things what works for your learner.
Right. Correct. Correct. So the combination of what model you use will vary depending on the levels that you're training as well. Leadership
Yes.
will be very different, right?
Yeah.
And the entry level will be very different, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things will decide that what model we are going to use. Number one, first is the level of audience,
Right.
isn't it? And second thing, that what content we want to teach them.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Like for example, if I have to teach emotional intelligence to somebody, correct, and if he is a leader, correct, I will use a very different kind of model for him. I will not teach theory to him. I
Correct.
may I may use a theater based model or some kind of a role reversal kind of a model for him, isn't it? By making him play a character there, isn't it? And becoming him in front of him, isn't it? And we see
Right.
that how the things happens, isn't it? But if the same thing of emotional intelligence or the stress management aspect, if I have to teach, isn't it, to a first time manager, isn't it? First, I need to tell them the concept about that, and then I need to take him into the role play or the conversation kind of thing.
Yeah. Is are you hiring new people right now in the last?
Yes, in the last 7 months, we have hired more than 500 people.
So
And
how have you managed their induction, onboarding, getting them into the organization? Because there's no physical meeting, right?
all virtual,
All work.
starting from the interview invitation, correct, to the appointment letter, isn't it? Onboarding, isn't it? Everything virtual, Niti.
Wow. And do people miss coming to office, to see where I work, how I work, and all those things? Do you see
Yes,
that
yes.
happening right now?
Yes, that happens, and that is why you see that we have created a lot of videos of our office and everything, correct, which we keep on showing them. We have tried that how we should create this your virtual reality or the augmented reality video, but still that vendor is not able to deliver it on time. Yes, but everything is happening virtually for us.
Hmm. So
In
one
fact,
thing, one thing I heard from somebody was I think they did a good job of creating a virtual walkthrough of the office
yeah,
on day one. So
correct,
how they punch in your doors, how they open, the lifts, everything. So basically giving a virtual experience. So
right,
when this person comes to office, at least he'll not feel lost.
correct.
So,
In fact, before our conversation has started, correct, a new associate vice president has joined us. So I
mhm.
was doing his virtual induction about the L&D. Right?
Nice, that's interesting. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you're getting a lot of people from the industry as lateral workforce as well right now, not just the entry level workforce.
Yeah, both are happening, correct.
Both are
The entry level also and the lateral both.
excellent, excellent. I mean, this your industry is so unique, and the
Touch wood.
requirement. Yeah, yeah, no, it's good, and I think you guys, like I was telling one of our doctor friends, you guys are actually keeping us running. So I think the same holds good for your industry as well. That if not for you and not for all the R&D and innovation that's happening right now,
Correct.
people will have no hope to survive the next year.
And in fact, Niti, in the last 20 years, you see, we have seen internet bubble,
Correct,
2001,
correct.
isn't it? Then 2008 recession we have seen, isn't it? And then we are seeing this pandemic. And in all these three scenarios, correct, the pharma industry has grown leaps and bounds during those times.
Absolutely, yes, yes, yes. And I think really good job done across the sector, because wherever we see people are being asked for. In fact, one thing that I was talking to a couple of path lab technicians,
Mhm.
right? The requirement for these technicians have increased dramatically,
Yeah,
right? And the skill sets are now being upgraded,
yeah,
because not just the numbers, but even the skills are changing.
correct.
And these labs are actually looking at, like Dr. Lal's and all that, they're actually looking at paying a lot more to all
Yeah,
these technicians. So that
correct.
way, I think it's a good thing that has happened,
Yeah,
because otherwise these technicians are not being paid well. It was on collection, it was on, per record and things like that.
yeah,
Now again, the demand has improved, which is good. I think technicians are looking at getting themselves certified, so that they are
yes.
able to get into the formal employment. So I think that's a great thing that is happening. Now, one last question. We were talking of continuous learning and credit linkages, right? Something that we are experimenting with some of our customers, and I wanted your view, is that when you say continuous learning and a credit for every module that a learner is learning,
Mhm.
right? Do you see a requirement where these credits can eventually lead to a university certificate or a diploma or a postgrad degree eventually? Do you think that's a model that your organization could look at? I mean, just a dipstick for us actually.
Yeah, in fact, that is a wonderful idea because a person who is doing a certification, credit scores, and other thing,
Hmm.
and if you are thinking that those credit and certification can be converted into some kind of a university degree, right? So that is a tremendous thing.
So you think that'll help, because we're trying to work this out. We were
Yes.
just taking industry views on how the whole thing will work. So we are actually calling it the Teamlease Corporate University,
Okay.
because it's corporate education,
Right.
right? You are doing
Obviously.
everything that is required to upskill, but
Mhm.
but collectively, if they start getting these credits and certificates, diplomas, degrees, advanced diplomas, right, from various universities in the country or maybe outside, right? I think the employee stays back saying, "Let me get this diploma and then decide what I want to do," and which is
Yes.
relevant for your sector. So retention improves, productivity improves,
Mhm.
right? And of course, the cost of lateral hire comes down for your company.
Right.
So you also use this term ROI, because pre-COVID, all businesses used to ask L&D folks saying, I'm paying so much money, what's my return?
Mhm.
But now nobody is questioning the ROI,
Right.
because they have actually experienced improved productivity, higher retention, engagement, and all those things. So this is just one more way of keeping people together and keeping the learning together.
Correct. And I
So
tell you that
we are expecting.
this will be a great motivation to the people, correct, that after three certification, if it is going to be converted into something which is more
Great,
meaningful for them. That is amazing.
great.
So,
So
so have you
now,
launched it or what? Have you launched this?
yeah. So with the product for us, I will have Million send you a note on this, on how
Yeah.
it works, right?
Yeah.
So of course, we experimented this in Gujarat with our university, Teamly
Okay.
Skills University. We can offer certificate and diploma and advanced diploma outside of Gujarat.
Okay.
Only a degree is something that we can't. But let's say if you launch a postgrad diploma,
Right.
right, in a certain area or a specific trade that you're looking
Hmm.
at, that's possible to launch anywhere in the country with Teamly Skills University.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
we are doing a lot of this with our apprentice program, with our
Mhm.
apprentices, because apprentices largely are 12 standard plus. We
Right.
have very less graduate apprentices.
Yeah.
So they end up doing a 3-year degree program with us while they are learning on the job.
Correct. So you have a pharma vertical as well for the apprentice.
Yes, we do. Yes, yes.
Ask Milind to share some details about this to me.
I will. I will surely do that, and maybe so. In fact, in our campus, I mean, we have a full. The diploma of medical lab technician. So DMLT is a very popular program,
Yeah.
in Gujarat, and we keep getting so many students, and now the labs are actually asking us, saying, "Train more people. I'll take thousands." But just that now students are not coming to learn physically at the campus.
Mhm.
So all these programs. So I will have him send you a write up on this, and you let us know how it will work. Just stitching your current program together itself to give credits and certificate and diploma
Yeah.
is a possibility.
Okay.
You don't need to shift anything.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think let him send this out to you, and then if required, I can also detail this with you at a later point of time.
Sure, Niti.
Yeah, so we'll do that. So Sushil, I think great talking to you. I didn't realize we were already completed our 1 hour slot.
Yeah.
But thank you for your time. Wonderful speaking to you, and we'll touch base. Hopefully, sometime we'll meet physically soon in Bombay or Bangalore, wherever we are.
Yeah. Sure, Niti, and thank you very much for having me on this platform.